Greetings, friends, and welcome to my guide on the final coil of Bahamut turn 11. This encounter requires a substantial amount of teamwork, high DPS, and in later phases forces you to adopt the buddy system. This encounter has 3 phases and a hard and rage timer. I will go into each of the mechanics as we make our way through the phases. I'm sure there are other strategies that work just as well, but these are the ones we learned as a group to best suit our playstyle and composition. Okay, let's get started. Phase 1, 100% to 60%. First off, I want to say that unlike a lot of encounters in Final Fantasy XIV, for this fight, you'll want both tanks in front of the boss. A couple of his mechanics dictate that you must tank him in such a way. The healing aspect of this fight can be a little weird at first because instead of keeping one tank alive, taking all the damage, now both tanks are taking high amounts of damage, so coordinating your healing is key. The party should be stacked up directly behind, no more than 5 yalms away from the boss, to make avoiding mechanics very simple. Resonate. This ability is an instant cast cleave doing very high damage, roughly 8k. The damage can be split between players, so both tanks should always split this attack. Nerve Gas. This is a conal ability targeting the same 3 spots in a random order, applying a stack of vulnerability and doing moderate damage. This attack is very simple to dodge. Barrow Field. This ability is a circular field the boss will put underneath his targeting circle. If touched, the player will gain a stack of vulnerability and heavy. The boss will cast this at 85%. This will make dodging very difficult, so avoiding this is extremely important. Seed of the Sea and Seed of the River. The boss will cast these 2 abilities always back to back, but in a random order. Seed of the Sea will target a random player with a vertical red line, much like Gaseous Bomb from turn 8. This ability will do high damage and must be spread between players. Seed of the River will target 2 random players dealing moderate splash damage, so the DPS and healers will need to spread out for this ability. Main Head and Secondary Head. The boss will stun the main tank and begin to cast Secondary Head. Secondary Head applies a debuff, called in the Headlights. This increases the damage of the next attack, called Primary Head. Primary Head will instantly kill the target if affected by in the Headlights. This is a forced tank swap, and the off tank must provoke during the cast of Secondary Head. Once provoked, the boss will then hit the off tank with Primary Head, doing massive damage. You will definitely want to mitigate this attack. This phase will continue until 60%. Phase 2, 60%. Shapes and stuff. Upon reaching 60%, the boss will turn and run to the center of the arena, creating a death field around it and becoming immune to damage. Prior to hitting 60%, the DPS and healers should pre-position themselves close to the northeast section of the map to avoid being ran over by Barrow Field. Once the boss reaches the middle, 3 adds will spawn: a sphere, a cube, and an egg. The Sphere. The sphere spawns to the northeast of the room and must be picked up by one of the tanks. Its main attack is called Repelling Cannon. This is an instant cast point-blank AoE doing high damage that must be spread across multiple players, so you will want to be stacked up directly behind the sphere to accomplish this. All of the sphere's auto attacks cleave. The Cube. The cube spawns to the northwest of the room and also must be picked up by one of the tanks. Its main attack is Gravity Well. This ability will put down a black puddle that if stepped in will apply heavy, making dodging and dealing with mechanics very difficult. The cube hits very hard, with each auto attack being a critical hit that cleaves. Awareness? Yes please. The cube also takes greatly reduced physical damage, so let the tank build up some aggro before attacking it. The Egg. The egg spawns to the south of the room and is not picked up by a tank. Its main ability is Forked Lightning, which is the same as Thunderstruck from turn 9. You will also handle this in a very similar way. Forked Lightning will target a random person, so when targeted, have that person break off from the group until the debuff goes away. The egg is immune to ranged attacks unless standing in melee range. In addition to the 3 adds, there will be 3 line beam attacks that will target random players doing high damage that must be avoided. This will go on throughout Phase 2. Now, here's how we handled the shapes and stuff. One tank picked up the cube, while the other picked up the sphere. The party stacked behind the sphere to soak repelling cannons. These adds cannot get too close or they will absorb, doing massive damage and terrible things. In addition to this, the egg will move counterclockwise, so both tanks must slowly kite their add counterclockwise, keeping a safe distance between the other 2 shapes. You will only move when the egg moves, so keep a close eye on it. He's a slippery one. The cube and sphere must die simultaneously. The reason for this is because when one is killed, the other will immediately move toward the egg to be absorbed. The cube has 50k HP and the sphere has 130k HP, so ideally most of the damage will be on the sphere. Be sure to call out in coordinating the remaining percentage of life each shape has. After the sphere and cube are killed, burn the living shit out of the egg and prepare for Phase 3. Phase 3, 60% to 0%. Adopting the buddy system. After killing the egg, this will push the boss into Phase 3. You will have roughly 5 to 7 seconds to get into position before he casts Nerve Cloud. Nerve Cloud is an AoE dealing massive damage that will always crit due to the buff from the egg. Treat this like Mega Flare from turn 9. While DPSing the egg, healers should be precasting Stone Skin and Adloquium. Also make sure to get Sacred Soil down while applying Storm's Path and Dragon Kick on the boss. This move hits really hard. In this phase, we tank the boss right where it is, having a very similar position as Phase 1. We have our DPS and healers stacked south of the boss, while the tanks are north. In this phase, the boss will introduce its final and most difficult mechanic, the tethers. Nanospore Jet. This ability will tether 2 people together. The pairings will always be 2 tanks, 2 DPS, 2 healers, or 1 DPS and 1 healer unless people have died. There will always be 2 tethered pairs. The people tethered must not get too far away from each other or the tether will start stacking vulnerability debuffs on both players. Spreading even farther will result in both people dying. If one tethered group gets too close to the other tethered group, the tethers will start stacking vulnerability debuffs. If one of the tethered people die, the other one dies as well. While tethers are out, the boss will do every mechanic from Phase 1. So, this is how we handle the tethers for Nerve Gas. Take a look at this picture. We base our positioning on the colored tethers. The blue tether group will always stack on marker C, and the green tethered group will always stack on marker B. We always have the group targeted by Nerve Gas move left, while the others adjust accordingly, paying attention to where the other tethers are going to be. So a slight shift may be all that is necessary in dodging for the people not targeted by the first Nerve Gas. After this move, you will dodge the other 2 Nerve Gases by heading the opposite direction or shortest safe spot. Here, I'll show you. The main idea behind this strategy is that the targeted pair will always move left, so not only do both tethered people know where to go, but the raid as a whole will be able to adjust accordingly on the fly. Mastering this strategy is key for clearing this encounter and takes a tremendous amount of raid awareness and teamwork. One thing I can highly recommend doing during this phase is focusing on what you need to do. Do not worry about other people or the person you're tethered to, or look at their character move. The reason I say this is because of server lag. While tethered and moving, the server can be very deceiving. Sometimes it will appear as if you are really far ahead when you are actually right on point as a team. If you slow down because of this and try to compensate, you may be hurting yourself more than helping. This is a team effort and there is nothing you can do to make the other person move. You must trust that they will and focus on what you need to do. If your tethered partner does not move fast enough, that is on them, not you. So everyone needs to focus on their own responsibilities and not worry about how others are doing. Well, that's all I got. I hope this guide was helpful and will lead to some sweet first clears. May your crits be high and your tethered be tanks. Good luck, guys.